मन के 3 कार्य, बुद्धि के 5 कार्य, चित्त के अलग अलग लेवल्स.
Now that we have understood the 3 functions of mind,
संक्षिप्त
5
में
functions
समझ
of
लेने के
intellect
बाद
and different levels of memory, now is the
अब समय
time
है
to
बुद्धि
understand
को,
ego.
अब समय है अहंकार को समझ लेने का. ऐसा समझिए,
Let's say if we make a graph,
स्थूल से
a gradient
सूक्ष्म
of gross
जो
to subtle,
एक ग्राफ बने, एक रेडियंट बने, ग्रेडियंट बने, तो
then the
सबसे
body
स्थूल
is the
शरीर
most gross.
जो दिखाई भी
We can
देता
see
है,
it,
स्पर्श भी
we
कर
can
सकते
touch
हो,
it. It is available at the physical level.
फिजिकल लेवल पर उपलब्ध. श्वास देखो तो शरीर से सूक्ष्म
The breath is subtler than the
है,
body.
लेकिन फील होती है.
We cannot
मन
see it,
ना
but we
देख
can touch
सकते
and
हो,
feel it.
ना फील कर सकते हो,
But the mind,
महसूस कर
neither we
सकते हो.
can
सिर्फ
see it
उसको
nor we can touch it, but we can
मन के
feel
ही
it.
द्वारा मन का निरीक्षण हो सकता है. एब्स्ट्रैक्ट जगत का
We
खेल.
can perceive our mind
बुद्धि
through our
उससे भी
mind.
सूक्ष्म है.
It is the game of the abstract world.
जैसे जैसे
Then the intellect is even
स्थूल
subtler
से
than the
सूक्ष्म
mind.
की तरफ जाते जा रहे हैं.
As we go from
आप गौर
gross
से
to subtle,
देखना,
if
एक
you
एक
look
एक
at
एक
it,
level
every level gets
और
even more
powerful होते जा
powerful
रहे
than the last one.
शरीर को देखो,
Look at the body, it
बुद्धि
only
के
follows
लिए हुए
the decisions
decisions को
taken by
सिर्फ follow
the mind.
करता है शरीर. चित्त में होने वाली
Any activities happening in the memory, tendencies will be more subtle and more powerful than the activities happening in the intellect.
बुद्धि को ये पता है
The
कि
intellect
कौन सी
knows
tendencies
which tendencies are
जीवन को
harmful for
नुकसान
life
करने वाली
and
है,
I should not
नहीं
indulge in
करना
them.
चाहिए मुझे.
But then also,
फिर भी
the tendencies
चित्त
in
में
the
पड़ी
memory
हुई
are so
वृत्तियाँ
powerful that they
इतनी
overpower
powerful
the
होती हैं
intellect
कि बुद्धि
and
को
keep
भी
pushing a
overpower
person
करके
into different
आदमी को
activities.
झोंकती रहती हैं अलग अलग कार्यों में. चित्त का
The unconscious state
tendencies
the memory
इकट्ठा करने का
gathers
अवचेतन
tendencies
अवस्था का जो खेल है,
within which there is an activity going on
उसी में
called ego.
एक एक्टिविटी हो रही है जिसको अहंकार का रूप कहा है.
Please try to
समझिए
understand
बात.
what I am saying. What
अहंकार
does
माने क्या
ahamkar
है?
or ego mean?
स्वयं के बारे में
The
भूतकाल के
accumulation of the
अनुभवों के आधार
assumptions
पर
about
बना
yourself
हुआ एक
based on
धारणाओं
your
का ढांचा.
experiences of the past is called ego.
स्वयं के बारे में
You assume
आप
yourself
अपने
to be
आप को
something.
कुछ मान लेते हो, कहते हो
You believe
believe
I am
करते
like
हो,
this.
मैं ऐसा हूं, मैं ज्ञानी,
I am
मैं
wise.
मूर्ख,
I am foolish.
मैं सुंदर,
I am beautiful.
मैं कुरूप,
I am ugly.
मैं उपयोगी,
I am useful.
मैं
I am useless.
बेकार,
I am
मैं
good.
अच्छा, मैं बुरा.
I am bad.
ये जो
This
मैं पन-
I-ness,
स्वयं
these
के बारे
subtle
में
beliefs
इकट्ठा
and
हुई
assumptions
हुई
about yourself
सूक्ष्म धारणाएं.
is what ego is.
अच्छा, जो कार्य
Whatever
आपने बार-बार
actions you
किए,
did again and again,
जो रोल
whatever
आपने
role you
बार-बार
played
निभाए,
again and again,
जो भाव
whatever
आपके
flavors
अंदर
you
बार-बार
experienced
जगे,
again and again,
उनके
they acted
आधार
like
पर बने
platforms
हुए
for your I-ness,
ये एक
which is
ऐसे
called
समझो जैसे
ego.
प्लेटफॉर्म्स बन गए जिसको अहंकार कहते हैं, आईनेस कहते हैं, ईगो कहते हैं. और उस ईगो को
And as we go from gross to
क्योंकि वो
subtle,
सूक्ष्म स्थूल
the
से
ego
सूक्ष्म
is
की
the
तरफ
sixth
जाते-जाते
level of inner world
शरीर,
after the
श्वास,
body,
मन, बुद्धि,
breath,
चित्त
mind,
के
intellect
बाद
and
का
memory,
छठा
and it is
लेवल
the
है.
closest level to the soul.
और जीवात्मा के सबसे नजदीक वाला लेवल है. कई
So
सारे
many
लोग
people believe
ये जो
themselves
मैंपन
to be
इकट्ठा
this
होता है,
accumulated
पूरा
I-ness,
अहंकार,
believe themselves
लेकिन
to
वो
be the
अपने
ego.
आप को वही मानते हैं. स्व
It is
को
actually
वो
the
मान
ego.
लेते हैं.
but they believe their self to be that.
तीक्ष्ण सूक्ष्म हुई हुई
The sharper
बुद्धि
and subtler the intellect is, the better equipped it
उतने
is
सूक्ष्म
to
अहंकार
identify
को
the subtler flavors of ego
जीवात्मा
as
से
separate from the soul.
आइडेंटिफाई कर पाती है. आई रियली होप यू अंडरस्टैंड माई पॉइंट. अच्छा, अहंकार को समझना
As difficult it is to
उसकी
understand the
सूक्ष्मता की
ego
वजह से
because of
जितना
its
कठिन है,
subtlety, it
उतना
is
ही
also equally difficult
छूटना
to
भी
get free
कठिन
from
है.
it. That is
अगर
if
छोड़ने
you
की
don't
टेक्निक
know the
ठीक से
proper
हाथ में ना
technique
आई
to
हो
do
तो.
so.
अच्छा, इसका एक खेल बताया है. ऐसा समझ लीजिए
Let's do one
एक
thing.
काम करते हैं.
Let's
इसको
start
समझ
this
लेने
by
की
attempting
चेष्टा
to
से शुरुआत
understand
करते
it.
हैं.
And then
और फिर
we'll
इसमें से
explore
छूटने के
solutions
उपाय
on
ढूंढें.
how to get free from it.
Usually
Usually,
अहंकार को
ego
कुछ
is
flavors
understood to
वाला
be of certain
समझा गया.
flavors.
मोटा-मोटी
Primarily,
अगर
it
देखो
can be categorized
तो
into
तामसिक
tamasic ego,
अहंकार,
rajasic ego,
राजसिक अहंकार
and sattvic
और
ego.
सात्विक अहंकार. ऐसे अलग अलग कैरेक्टराइजेशन कर सकते हैं. इसके कैटेगराइजेशन कर सकते हैं. लेकिन
If you
फिर भी
understand the flavors
flavors
of
को
ego,
समझा जाए ego के, जैसे
like you
बास्किन
understand
रॉबिन्स
the varying
आइसक्रीम के
flavors
flavors होते
of
हैं, तो
Baskin
उसको
Robbins
अपने
ice
स्वयं
cream,
के अंदर अपनी चेतना में आइडेंटिफाई
then it will be
करना
easier
उतना
to
ज़्यादा सरल
identify
होता
them
जाएगा.
within our
इसलिए उसका
consciousness.
वर्णन कर रहे हैं.
And that is why we are
ईगो के
describing
ऐसा
them.
समझ लीजिए मोटा-मोटी 10-11 फ्लेवर्स.
On the whole, there are about 10-11 flavors of ego.
फ्लेवर ईगो का
So the
अगर
first
गौर से
flavor of
देखा
ego
जाए,
is
superiority complex वाला
superiority
ego,
complex.
गुरुता ग्रंथि वाला, किसी से बड़ा होने
It
का
is the
भाव,
feeling of being bigger than
किसी से
or
बात
superior
करते
to
करते,
someone.
relate करते करते
Living life
उनसे
with a
बेहतर,
feeling of being
बड़ा,
greater, superior,
greater,
bigger than someone
superior
while
होने
relating with
का
them.
एक भाव लेके उनके साथ
That is the superiority
जीवन
complex
जीते
form of the
रहना.
ego.
सुपीरियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स वाला ईगो है. अच्छा,
If you
गौर से
observe
देखोगे
carefully,
तो उसके
what are
लिए
the reasons
कारण,
or causes
साधन क्या
behind this
बनते हैं?
feeling of
तो
superiority
कभी-कभी
over
पैसे की
someone?
वजह से,
Sometimes
कभी-कभी
because of
position की
money,
वजह से,
sometimes because of
कभी-कभी उम्र की
position,
वजह
sometimes
से,
because of
कभी-कभी
age,
ज्ञान की
sometimes
वजह
because
से,
of knowledge,
कभी-कभी
sometimes because of physical
अपनी
beauty,
physical
we
beauty
feel
की वजह से
superior over someone.
किसी से बड़ा होने का भाव जगता है.
Whereas, because of
कभी-कभी
these
इन्हीं
same
कारणों की
reasons,
वजह से
we may feel
किसी से
smaller than
छोटा
or
होने का,
inferior to
निम्न
someone,
होने का, किसी से
which is
कम
called
होने का भाव
inferiority
जगता है,
complex.
जिसको inferiority complex कहते हैं.
We'll
इन
have to
दोनों को एक
understand
साथ में
both these
समझना
flavors
पड़ेगा,
of ego
क्योंकि
together because
उसको
the
trigger
triggers
करने
for
वाले
both are
कारण
almost the
मोटा-मोटी
same.
same ही हैं.
Are you all
सब सुन रहे
listening?
हो? किसी से बड़ा होते होते जी रहे हो क्या?
Do you feel superior to or bigger
या
than
छोटे हो
someone?
जा रहे हो
Or
क्या?
do you feel inferior to someone?
तो superiority
Then you will
inferiority
understand
complex
the
वाला
ego of
समझ में आएगा.
superiority and inferiority.
अच्छा,
What is the
इन दोनों
dynamic
का
of these
चक्कर
two?
क्या है तो तुम देखना,
The sense of
जिसके सामने तुम
belongingness,
बड़े बन रहे
the
हो,
feeling of
या जिसके
intimacy,
सामने तुम छोटे
the
हो जा
flavor
रहे
of love,
हो, उस
that I
व्यक्ति
am
के
theirs,
साथ
they
वो
are mine,
अपनेपन वाला,
will be lost in front
आत्मीयता
of
वाला, ये
anyone
मेरे
whom you
हैं, मैं
feel
उनका
superior
हूँ,
to
ये जो
or
सुंदर भाव
inferior
है ना
to.
प्रेम वाला, ये खो जाता है.
I am saying whenever this superiority ego or inferiority ego arises, it damages the sense of belongingness the most. This superiority or inferiority won't let you feel belongingness. There will also be moments when even if someone is older than you, has much more money than you, is more knowledgeable than you, but because there is belongingness, their bigness or superiority and your smallness or inferiority, or even your bigness and their smallness will not matter at all, just because there is a sense of belongingness.
या तुम्हारा बड़ापन उनका छोटापन मायने ही नहीं रखता, क्योंकि अपनापन हो गया. सुन रहे हो मेरी बात?
Fathers sometimes say that due to the generation gap with my son, I am unable to create a sense of belongingness with him because of the age difference. But I am saying, if you observe carefully, you are suffering from the superiority complex and inferiority complex ego. Otherwise, the son has a beautiful connection with his grandfather, in spite of having a gap of 2 generations.
बहुत सुंदर कनेक्शन है, 2 जनरेशन का गैप होने पर भी. सुन रहे हो मेरी बात? जनरेशन के साथ, उम्र के साथ,
it has got nothing to do with generation, with age, with money, with position or with knowledge.
लेना देना ही नहीं है.
Sometimes you meet someone randomly and start feeling a very beautiful connection, and you feel like they are your own. It has nothing to do with age, nothing to do with how much money they have.
कोई लेना देना नहीं, कितना धन इकट्ठा हुआ है उसका कोई लेना देना नहीं.
We all have had this experience. Wherever superiority complex is there or inferiority complex is there, it damages belongingness the most. Like how we paired these 2 flavors, same way we can pair 2 more flavors of ego, which are called guilt consciousness and victim consciousness. Just like superiority and inferiority are related to money, position and all that, in the same way, guilt consciousness and victim consciousness survive on blame. The ego which blames yourself due to your mistakes is guilt consciousness. And the ego which believes yourself to be very pure, saintly and beautiful but blames others is the ego of victim consciousness. What is the similarity between these two? Blaming is going on, either blaming the self or blaming others. Someone with guilt consciousness cannot rejoice, cannot celebrate by their self-experience and be happy because they believe themselves to be worthless and bad. Whereas someone with victim consciousness, in the process of blaming others and feeling victimized, forgets their responsibility for their own happiness. I am asking, who is responsible for your mind's happiness? It's your responsibility, right? In the game of blaming others,
ओ मेरे साथ अन्याय हो रहा है, मेरे साथ,
oh, injustice has been done to me, someone has hurt me and caused pain. In the process of blaming someone, they keep losing their responsibility for their own self. I am saying, if you go and ask those who are supposedly being unjust, are you doing this on purpose? They will say, no, why would I do that? I am just doing what I like to do. But the wrong understanding, viparya, of victim consciousness will keep compelling you to blame others. There is almost like an adrenaline pump there. There is a little payoff there. There is a paycheck involved. Just keep blaming others, portray them wrong and feel yourself to be right. Keep sympathizing with yourself, keep indulging in self-pity. But while playing this game, you will keep living with a mind full of blames in it. Keep getting hurt again and again. But if your mind is free from this victim consciousness, then no behavior of anyone can touch you.
तुम्हें स्पर्श ही नहीं करेगा.
You would say you are verbally abusing me and that is why I am crying. I am saying,
तुम गाली दो,
try this, keep abusing me, I don't care. Are you listening to me? When it comes to recognizing the victim ego, the game is such that everyone else will see your victim consciousness but you. You will be the last one to identify it. You will be the last person to see, oh, this is my victim ego. Because this demoness will just not let you identify herself. If I give you the crux of 27-28 years of my spiritual exploration, then I would say your ego of victim consciousness is your biggest enemy. It is indeed your biggest enemy which doesn't let you take responsibility for yourself. It does not even let the basic truths of life to get firmly established in your consciousness. In the process of believing yourself to be a victim, this self-pitying ego does not let the experience of I am the Brahman get established within you. Are you listening? Superiority complex, inferiority complex are two flavors of ego. Then guilt consciousness and victim consciousness are two more flavors of ego. Then defensive consciousness and aloof consciousness are two more dangerous flavors of ego. We described in the game of defending yourself, justifying yourself in the subject of tark, kutark and vitark.
आपको डिफेंड करते रहने वाला, जस्टिफाई करते रहने वाला जो खेल है, वो हम वर्णन कर ही चुके हैं.
It is the ego which uses the intellect to keeps defending its every activity, keeps justifying its every activity using twisted logic, kutark. This is defensive consciousness. Here the intellect is just an instrument used by the ego. Such a fantastically powerful intellect is being used just to defend yourself instead of using it to take commitments. The commitment to not fall into these negativities is one direction, and the defense that I indulge in these negative tendencies because of these reasons is a completely different direction. Falling into the same negative tendencies again and again due to this difference in the directions. And a mind which commits to drop the negative tendencies becomes free from them very easily. Are you all listening to me? Because what are we holding on to? That I want to be free from this. And there the divinity says, Tathastu, so be it. And the defensive mind is saying, due to this reason, I am like this. Then there the divine says, Tathastu, so be it. Stay like that only. Justify something, sure enough, it will stay with you.
Sure enough, it will be with you.
Are you listening to me? Superiority complex, inferiority complex, guilt consciousness, victim consciousness defensive consciousness, and then the sixth flavor of ego is aloof consciousness. If you observe, this flavor of ego is very inactive and passive, like an inert gas, like nitrogen. It won't participate in any activity. Are you listening to me? It is detached from the whole world. It can neither invoke enthusiasm nor love. It cannot even take any responsibility. You can't tell whether it is a person sitting there or a piece of furniture. You would have seen such people. Just like in the air there is 73% of nitrogen and oxygen is only 21%. People who are like oxygen know how to burn themselves and also how to burn others. And they participate in every activity, like oxygen takes part in every activity of nature. Are you listening to what I am saying? In the game of life, the ego of aloof consciousness forces you to sit like a helpless fool in the audience by giving up the fantastic opportunity to participate as a player.
एक मूक असहाय दर्शक बना के बिठा देता है ये अलूफ कॉन्शियसनेस वाला ईगो.
This ego of aloof consciousness does not harm anyone, but also is not useful to anyone. If you look carefully, what would have happened in their life? They might have loved someone, but would have been cheated in return, or would not have received love in return. So they decided not to love anyone ever again. Tell me, who is at loss? Are you listening to me? Just like superiority, inferiority, guilt, victim, defense, aloof, there are two more flavors of ego. Attacking or intimidating consciousness, and complaining consciousness. Look at some people, they are like sledgehammers, attacking everything. They have a brutal force which can move mountains. But people around them will remain scared and intimidated. As it is said, small plants cannot grow under a big banyan tree. If the people with such fantastic energy focus on seva, they will do very, very well. If they start some destructive activity, they can destroy everything. These people have such a fantastic inner power. If somehow their attacking consciousness gets directed towards seva, the job is done.
सेवा की तरफ मुड़ जाए, बाकी काम बन गया.
I remember in 1997-98, we started preparing for the YLTP, Youth Leadership Training Program of the Art of Living, in order to train Yuvacharyas. And that time Gurudev told us, go from village to village and look for sons of the landlord or the goons of the village and make them sit for YLTP. Because they already have a lot of inner power. If it gets channelized in the right direction, they can serve the nation very well.
क्योंकि ताकत तो ऑलरेडी है,
Because they already have the power.
सिर्फ दिशा
We just
बदलने
need
की
to
जरूरत
change their direction.
मैं intimidating consciousness वाले
Sometimes
लोगों
the
को
society
कभी-कभी है ना
misunderstands
समाज
these
में
people
वो
having
जो-
an intimidating consciousness due to the
brute
brute
वाले
force
लोग
they
हैं,
have.
उनको गलत
I am
समझा
saying
जाता है। मैं कहता हूँ सिर्फ
They
दिशा
just have to
बदलने की
change
जरूरत
their direction. And I
अच्छा,
have
ऐसे
seen
लोगों
that
को मैंने देखा है,
such people with such power
ऐसे
and inner
बड़ी
strength,
ताकत लेके
when
गुरुदेव
they
के
come
पास
to
आते
Gurudev,
हैं,
initially they might
जब
have
आते
a
हैं तो
tendency
शायद
for destruction. But as
विध्वंस
soon as
वाला
they
मन
surrender
होगा।
to Him,
लेकिन
they
गुरु के
create
चरणों में समर्पित
magic.
हो गए तो मैजिक कर देते हैं।
Like they
वालिया से
transform
वाल्मीकि
from
बन
being
जाते हैं।
Valia to Valmiki. Such
ऐसी
people
ताकत
possess
रखने
a lot
वाले
of inner
लोग,
strength
लेकिन
but are intimidating.
इंटिमिडेटिंग है।
This is the
ये
7th flavor of ego.
ईगो का 7वां फ्लेवर।
Now, the 8th
8वां
flavor of
मैं
ego,
कहता हूँ
which is a
शिकायत
complaining
करने वाला
mind.
मन।
Look at the game of complaining
का
consciousness.
खेल देखिए।
You would have seen a
आपने
mind
देखा
with a
होगा,
complaining attitude will always find some flaws,
वो
no matter
शिकायत
how
वाला जो
good
मन
the
है ना,
situation is.
वो अच्छे से अच्छे माहौल में कुछ न कुछ नुस्ख निकाल लेगा। अब
In
हर
every event,
घटना में
there will always be some pluses
कुछ
and some
minuses,
minuses,
कुछ
some
advantages,
advantages and some
कुछ
disadvantages.
disadvantages, तो होना ही है।
It is bound to be there.
शिकायती मन क्या करता
What does
है?
a complaining mind do? It
Focus
will
करता है जो
always
गड़बड़ हुई।
focus on the flaws, the minuses.
और जब तक
It
गड़बड़
will
नहीं
remain
हुई,
passive,
तब
but
तक
as soon
सुषुप्त
as
पड़ा
there is
है।
a flaw, a problem,
जैसे ही मौका
it gets an
मिला,
opportunity to
अपना
raise
फन
its
उठाया
ugly hood and tries to
और
feel
किसी
right
को
by
wrong
proving
करके
someone wrong.
खुद राइट होने का अनुभव पाया।
They will complain
सब
by
कुछ
saying
अच्छा है,
everything is
लेकिन
nice, but
करके शिकायत छोड़े।
they won't be very
ये कोई
aggressive people.
बहुत
This ego plays from the
aggressive लोग
backstage.
नहीं होंगे।
It stays
से
inactive
खेलने
and
वाला
hidden
ego है।
until it finds an opportunity.
सुषुप्त पड़ा रहता है जब तक उसको मौके ना मिले। अच्छा, आपने ये
Also,
देखा
you would
होगा,
have observed this. If you
उनको
offer the
आप
solution to the complaints they are
जो
having,
शिकायत
they
कर
are
रहे
just not
हैं,
interested in the
उसका
solutions.
solution ऑफर करके देखो, उनको solution में रस ही नहीं है। उनको आप
If you give them some
करके
explanation,
देखो,
they are not even
उनको
interested in the
explanation में रस है।
explanation.
उनको
They are
आरोप
interested
तय
only
करने
in
में रस है।
blaming someone.
तुम
You
गलत,
are wrong and
तब
hence
मैं
I am
सही।
right. The other has to be wrong for me to be right.
ये
This is
खेल
the
है
game
शिकायती
of the
ego का।
complaining ego.
लेकिन सबसे
But the
ज़्यादा
biggest
नुकसान
drawback
उनका
here
यही
is
होता है,
no one likes
शिकायत
people who
करने
keep
वाले
complaining.
लोगों को कोई पसंद नहीं करता। बार-बार
You can
शिकायत
see
करने
that
वाले लोग
chronic
आप देख लो,
complainers find
अकेले
themselves
रहेंगे
to be
दुनिया
alone
भर
in the
में।
world.
फिर ये फील
You know
करते-
what other people
लोग
think
आसपास
about
क्या
them?
फील करते हैं?
They feel
ये
he
आके
always
शिकायत
comes,
करते हैं,
complains
पूरा
and
energy
just
खा
sucks up the energy. No
और
one
energy
likes
खाने वाला
someone who
किसी को
sucks up the
पसंद नहीं
energy.
होता। फिर
And
ये
then
लोग
they
feel
feel
करते हैं,
alone. No
कोई
one
मेरा
is
नहीं है,
mine. No one belongs to me.
कोई अपना नहीं है। तब जाके वो जो छोटा सा एक
And then they get
psychological
interested in that
advantage है,
small
किसी को wrong
psychological
करके right
advantage
होने का,
of being right
उसमें
by
रस लेने
proving
लगते हैं।
someone wrong.
विषय चक्र है।
This is a vicious
जितनी
cycle.
शिकायतें करते हैं,
The more
उतना
they
अकेले
complain,
feel
the more
करते
they
हैं।
feel alone.
अकेलेपन की
And
वजह
because
से
of the
इस
loneliness, they get
शिकायतों
interested
से
in this
wrong
feeling of
करके
being
right
right
होने
by
में रस
making
आता है।
others wrong by complaining again.
सुन
Are
रहे
you
हो?
listening to me?
ऐसा
Such
ये
is the
आठवां
eighth
ego,
flavor
मैं
of
फिर
the
से एक
ego.
बार एक लिस्ट दे दूं।
I will revise the
Superiority
list again.
complex,
Superiority complex, inferiority
guilt
complex,
consciousness,
guilt
victim
consciousness,
consciousness,
victim consciousness, defensive ego,
aloof
aloof,
वाला ego,
form of the ego, attacking consciousness and complaining consciousness. And then the ninth flavor is judgmentalness.
Judgmentalness. वो हम बुद्धि के
We have already understood this in the judging and labeling function of the intellect. But I am saying, just like the defensive ego uses the intellect to defend itself by using justifying angles of tark, kutark, vitark,
तर्क कुतर्क वितर्क लगा के,
similarly, the judgmental ego uses the intellect's function of judging to prove someone wrong in order to feel right.
उस एक्टिविटी का, कार्य का इस्तेमाल करते करते किसी को रॉन्ग करते रहेंगे राइट होने के लिए. शिकायत जैसा ही लगेगा जजमेंटलनेस. अब गौर से देखना, ये जजिंग करने वाले लोग कैसे होंगे?
Judgmentalness will appear to be like complaining consciousness only, but people with judgmental ego will be alert in picking the flaws of others. What is the difference between observation and judgment?
क्या फर्क है भाई? तो
if someone is lying right now and you observe it because of your awareness, he is lying. What he is saying is not right. This is an observation. But then judging and labeling that person as a liar is judgmentalness.
जजमेंटलनेस वाला ईगो है. मैं कहता हूं ये 9वां फ्लेवर जो है ईगो का,
this is the 9th flavor of ego, judgmentalness.
wrong करके right
Even in being judgmental, the purpose is of proving others wrong for yourself to be right, like it is in the complaining ego. But both are slightly different flavors of ego. Complaining ego is different and judgmentalness is different.
और फिर 10वां ईगो मैं कहता
And
हूं,
then
10वां
is the 10th flavor of ego, doership.
जैसे गिल्ट वाला ईगो अपनी
like in guilt consciousness, you keep blaming yourself for your past mistakes. Similarly, in doership ego, you keep carrying the burden of your good deeds on your mind and become arrogant, become unnatural, become stiff and superior because of doership.
बन जाता है, सुपीरियर बन जाता है doership की वजह से. मैं कहता हूं,
that's why a simple formula is given in our scriptures. Do good and throw it in the ocean. Meaning, when you do something good, forget about it once the action is complete. Because if the shadow of doership, the shadow of your good deeds remains with you, then it will for sure make you feel burdened, heavy, unnatural, uncomfortable. It will definitely be an obstacle to free-flowing energy. Such is the 10th flavor of the ego. These are small inputs to help you identify the flavors of ego, and we will also later discuss the formulas to be free from them.
Solution है, उसमें से मुक्त होने का जो formula है, उसके बारे में हम आगे बात करेंगे.
I will revisit the list of the 10 flavors of the ego again. Superiority complex, inferiority complex, guilt, victim, defense, aloof, attack, complain, judgmentalness and doership. Now I will just introduce one more flavor of ego and leave it at that.
वो डूअरशिप ही है. चालू है वो.
Before that, let's revisit doership and try to understand it at a subtler level.
सूक्ष्मता से परखा जाए, सब लोग
Everyone, please listen carefully. As you mature in knowledge, an idea, an emotion arises in the mind that
एक भाव जगता है मन में कि
I know it now. I have understood it. I have made it.
और वो
And
जो
that
flavor है ना,
flavor is a
है
subtle
doership
form
ही,
of doership only.
लेकिन मैं पहुंच गया.
It will make you
वो वाला
feel I have
flavor जो
achieved
है,
it.
वो तुम्हें
That
विद्यार्थी
flavor is a
स्टूडेंट
very
बने
big
रहने
hurdle
में बहुत बाधा
in
बनता
being a
रहेगा.
sincere student.
जीवन
Life
अनंत
is
है
infinite and it teaches
और
you something or the
continuous
other on a
basis पर कुछ न
continuous
कुछ सिखाता
basis.
रहता है तुम्हें. I have made it वाला जो doership
But this
का
flavor
flavor
of
है,
doership, which says I have
वो
made it,
तुम्हें
does not allow you to keep learning and
और
understanding
गहराई से
at subtler
सीखते
levels.
रहने में खुला नहीं छोड़ता. ये 10वां
This is
flavor
the 10th
doership
flavor
वाला
of doership.
और 11वां
And
flavor
then the 11th flavor,
जिसको
which is
मैं
one of the subtlest flavors.
सूक्ष्मतम फ्लेवर्स में रखूंगा. very
Very
close,
subtle.
very subtle,
But almost
But
the biggest driving force
almost
of
the
everybody's
biggest
life,
driving force
and that
of
is
everybody's life,
self-orientedness, selfishness.
स्वार्थीपना,
Thinking
स्व
of
का ही
oneself
विचार.
only.
अब गौर से
Observe
देखना,
carefully from
सुबह से
morning to
लेके रात
night.
तक
Whatever
तुम जो
activities
भी
you are
काम
doing,
कर रहे
your
हो,
focus is
तुम्हारा फोकस गौर से देखोगे, मुझे
what will
क्या
I
मिलेगा?
get? Why should I do it?
मैं ये क्यों करूं?
What is my benefit here?
मुझे इससे क्या लाभ?
What will be my loss?
मेरा ये क्या नुकसान?
Driven by I, me, my.
me, my. ये
This is the ego of selfishness, self-orientedness.
सेल्फ ओरिएंटेडनेस वाला ईगो है. इसका गौर से
What is
देखो
the
तो
most dangerous aspect of this
सबसे
ego?
बड़ा
If you
dangerous
observe,
aspect क्या?
Every
हर
moment
क्षण
there is a
तुम्हारे
beautiful
आसपास के
possibility of
पूरे
living
वातावरण
life
की,
by taking
तुम जहाँ
responsibility,
physically हो,
by doing whatever
वहाँ
is
जो भी
necessary for the
उपलब्ध
need
है,
of the moment,
जो
for your
कुछ भी घट
surroundings,
रहा है, उसकी
whatever is
पूरी
available
जिम्मेदारी
around you,
लेते हुए,
for whatever is happening
whatever
around
is
you.
necessary
This ego
करते
of
हुए, responding to
self-orientedness
the need of the
hampers
moment
this
वाला
possibility,
सुंदर जीवन जिया जा
limits you
सकता है,
extremely,
उसके
binds
ऊपर
you
घात
within
करने
yourself.
वाला, तुम्हें बहुत ज्यादा सीमित कर देने वाला, तुम्हारे खुद के ही अंदर बांध लेने वाला ये सेल्फ ओरिएंटेडनेस वाला ईगो है. ये बहुत सूक्ष्म लेवल की मैं बात कह रहा
I
हूँ.
am talking about something
कहता
very
हूँ,
subtle
अध्यात्म
here.
में बड़ा
This
आगे
ego would
जाने
get
के
revealed
बाद ये
only after
superior
progressing
वो,
substantially in spirituality.
selfishness
Else
वाला
you
ego
would not
खुलेगा.
even comprehend
वरना
this.
समझ में ही नहीं आएगा. इस समाज को देखो तो
If you observe
fend
the
for
society
yourself,
at large,
look
it
after
considers
yourself,
ideas like
take
fend
care
for
of
yourself, look after
इसको virtue
yourself,
मान रहा
take
है
care
ये
of
समाज.
yourself to be virtues.
तुम अपना देखो, अपना संभालो.
People would say you should be concerned with your interests only, take care of yourself.
इसको गुण मान रहा है ये बेवकूफों
This
का
foolish
समाज.
society considers such
मैं
notions to
कह
be
रहा हूँ, ये
virtues.
सेल्फ ओरिएंटेडनेस वाला ईगो डिसॉल्व
I'm saying
हुआ
if this ego of self-orientedness
effortlessly
dissolves, then
being
effortlessly
available वाला
it opens
सुंदर
up the
भाव खुला.
beautiful state of being
समझे
available.
मेरी बात?
Such
ऐसे
is the
11
ego
flavor
with
वाला
11
ego.
flavors.
और उसमें
And
आप
some
गौर
flavors
से
of
देखना,
ego are very
कुछ flavors
obvious.
है ना ego
Their
के,
expression
बड़े
is seen
मोटे-मोटे
very
flavors
easily.
हैं. बहुत ऑब्वियसली दिखने वाले फ्लेवर्स हैं, बहुत इजीली एक्सप्रेशन दिखेगा उनका. कुछ फ्लेवर्स
While
बहुत
some
subtle हैं.
flavors are very subtle.
किसी को
They
बहुत
can only be
गहराई से
detected in
पहचानो,
someone
समझ लो,
if you
जीवन देख
closely
लो उनका,
observe them in their
तब
life.
दिखेंगे वो. वैसे
Such
फ्लेवर्स.
are those flavors.
One of the subtle most
One of the subtle most
driving
driving
force
forces of
of
many
many
people's
people's
lives
lives
is this ego
is the
of
self-orientedness
self-orientedness.
वाला ego. मैं अपना जीवन देखता
Here
हूँ,
I will share something about my life.
ये
from the
दिल की
heart.
बात शेयर कर रहा हूँ. There are moments when I am oriented on myself. You know when? When I am eating food.
That
मेरा
time the
विचार
thoughts
है,
are about myself,
भोग
about
का
seeking,
विचार है,
of wanting something.
पाने का विचार है.
Otherwise, if I
Otherwise,
see,
I
I am
am
available. This is
ये
something
एकदम
very
अंदर की बात
intimate
शेयर
that
कर
I am
रहा हूँ.
sharing. If
मैं ये
someone
समझा
is
नहीं
sharing their
पाता
life story
किसी को
with me, even at
कि
1
रात को
a.m. in
1
the
बजे
night,
अगर कोई आके अपने जीवन की कहानी सुनाता है,
then
तो कितना
however
भी थका
tired
हुआ
this
हो
body and
शरीर या
mind
मन,
are, they suddenly
suddenly
become
क्यों
available
available
to
हो जाता
listen
है
to their
उसकी
issues and try to address
issues
them
को
by finding
address करके
solutions.
solutions निकालने के लिए. It's
It is
very
very
hard
hard
for
for
me
me
to
to
explain
explain to anyone why this happens.
It is just like
It
this.
is just like this. It is just
It
there.
is just there. और किसी के लिए वो
For
है,
me,
किसी
this
के लिए
happens
नहीं
with
है,
everyone.
ये नहीं कह
No
सकते.
one is excluded.
It is just there.
It is just there.
मैं ये घर सोचता
When
हूँ,
I think of this house, it never comes across as
तो
a
ये
thought
विचार ही
that this
नहीं
is
आता
for
मन में कि
me.
मेरे लिए है. यही
Only a feeling is there
भाव है
that
कि
this is a pious temple
स्वाध्याय
of
क्षेत्र
knowledge,
है, कल्याण
of
ही
self
होगा.
exploration, and this is meant for the blossoming of others.
मैं ये रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहा
While
हूँ ना,
doing this recording, the
तो भी
only
विचार
thought
यही
is
है
anyone who
कि
will
जो
listen to it
सुनेंगे,
will understand the base
उनको
of
धर्म का
Dharma.
आधार मिल जाएगा. इतना सारा
So much
खर्चा
money
करके
was
अभी
spent to
हमने
record some 70
कुछ
songs.
70 songs रिकॉर्ड किए.
I put all the money I had into it.
यानी मेरे पास जितने
Why?
थे सब कुछ डाल दिया मैंने. क्यों?
Because
तो
I
लगा,
felt before
ये
leaving
शरीर
this
छूटने
body,
से पहले
whatever I
इस
have to
lifetime
offer
में
to
मुझे
this
दुनिया
world,
को जो
whether
देना
it
है,
be some bhajans,
कुछ
some film
भजन,
songs, some knowledge,
कुछ
including
film
my
songs,
experiences to be shared with
ज्ञान,
people.
जो मैंने अनुभव किया, लोगों से शेयर करने का मन हुआ, ये तीनों
Let me record it all in the best quality of audio and video,
बेस्ट क्वालिटी के साथ,
so that it will be
कहीं ना
available
कहीं
to
available हो
everyone
जाएगा
for
किसी
their
न किसी के
blossoming.
लिए. तो ये शरीर
And
त्यागने
after
के लिए
that,
ready है.
I am ready to quit
जब
this
छूटा,
body.
दिया
I
है,
want to give it for whoever it
जिसको
helps
उपयोगी हो,
before
हो
this
जाए.
body drops.
है बहुत टाइम अभी. कोई चिंता की बात नहीं है. इन 11 फ्लेवर्स वाला जो ईगो है ना, है टाइम या है? उसी तरह जैसे मैं कह रहा था,
I talked about
ये
tamasic and rajasic ego in the beginning.
ईगो की मैंने बात की. गौर
If
से
you
देखोगे
observe
ना,
carefully, superiority complex ego is rajasic ego. Inferiority complex is tamasic ego. Guilt consciousness and victim consciousness are tamasic ego. Defensive consciousness and aloof consciousness are tamasic ego.
तामसिक ईगो, अलूफ कॉन्शियसनेस
But
तामसिक ईगो.
if you see, attacking consciousness is rajasic ego. Complaining consciousness, tamasic ego. Judgmental, you can say, is tamasic ego.
कह सकते हो.
But doership
लेकिन
is
doership
rajasic.
राजसिक ईगो है.
Selfishness
राजसिक
is
ego।
also Rajasic.
वैसे
Similarly,
अगर
if we talk about
ego की
Sattvic
बात
ego,
करें,
then I would say
तो मैं कहता हूँ
sometimes dharma oriented ego is also Sattvic ego.
मैंने धर्म पकड़ा है, ये ईगो ही है।
I have held on to dharma is ego.
और
And in the final chapters, you would have to surrender this too and dissolve and merge.
विलीन होना है तुम्हें, डिसॉल्व होना है, मर्ज होना है।
From being somebody to nobody.
To nobody.
For that, surrendering the Sattvic ego will be required. I want nothing and I am nothing.
And I am nothing.
And I am ready to do nothing. That is where there is ultimate dissolving. I am saying, let it be Shudra or Vaishya or Kshatriya. You have to surrender all that and live like a Brahman.
बन के ही जीना है। उस दिव्यता का
You have to live as the instrument of that divinity.
यही ultimate
This is the ultimate dharma.